Hi, I'm James Burnham, and today I want to talk about how you can achieve a growth mindset. This is something that we all talk about, right? We're looking at personal development, we want to get better. How do we get to that place and receive critical feedback? So, if you want to know if you're in a growth mindset, that's really kind of the precursor to it. How well do you take feedback? Often, when somebody is given feedback of a critical nature, you'll see them get a little bit defensive. You'll see them start to kind of glaze over with their eyes. You'll see the affect of their face change. When that happens, you know this person's not in a growth mindset. They're feeling defensive. They're feeling afraid. They're wondering what's going to happen to them. And when this happens, you're incapable of hearing the thing that you need to hear that'll allow you to improve, to get better, and to overcome whatever that is that you're facing. The other side of this, though, is positive feedback. How well do you receive a compliment? Are you able to, when somebody gives you a really positive compliment, hold that? Or do you get deflective? Do you dismiss it? Do you laugh it off? Do you try to pretend that, oh, that's not true, or you diminish yourself? If you do those types of things, then you're also not in a growth mindset. Someone in a growth mindset can receive a compliment with grace and can receive critical feedback with curiosity. So, if you want to be able to achieve a growth mindset, here's a few things you can do. The first thing that you want to do in order to get to growth mindset is recognize how you receive feedback, both positive and negative. Analyze that. Start paying attention to it if you're unaware. When somebody says something critical to you, do you feel defensive? Do you feel angry? Do you feel worried, concerned? Whatever those feelings are, if there's anything but curious, then you want to start fixing that. You want to understand, hey, why am I feeling defensive? Why am I feeling that way? Or if they are offering you compliments and you're deflecting, you're unable to hold that, that's another sign that you want to learn how to be able to receive those things. Teach yourself how to engage and learn new habits. We can rewire. Our brain has got incredible neuroplasticity. So it is able to change habitual behaviors once you recognize what's going on. The problem with habits is when they're formed, our brain then holds on to that and it follows those pathways without us even thinking. So you have to get intentional. You have to break down and analyze exactly how you feel when critical feedback is given. Maybe there's a space in your life where you are very capable of receiving critical feedback, and you can take that template and you can overlay it on a place where you're not so good. That's something you can do. The second thing that you want to do after you have analyzed this is understand all of this comes from your inability. All of your negative emotions, all of your defensiveness comes and arises when you're receiving critical feedback because you're lacking the sense of self-worth that you need to hold what's being said. Even if they're wrong, even if they're 100% wrong, you should be able to stand there with grace and hear it, listen to what they have to say, and determine, you know what, this is irrelevant to me. But if there's even 1% of what they're saying that's correct, and usually there is, a person with a growth mindset can take that and say, thank you for the feedback. I appreciate that. It's a powerful thing. I do it sometimes I don't. And finally, the last thing that you want to do is recognize the power of curiosity. When somebody is offering you critical feedback, get curious about it. Really curious. Don't allow yourself to begin defending your position. Allow yourself to listen with curiosity, wondering how they might have gotten to that conclusion or how you have demonstrated whatever it is you're doing in such a way that this is the feedback that they're giving you. This is growth mindset in its best. Now, my personal life, I have a space where I'm really, really good. And that's in physical stuff. I can get out here and mess around in the snow and have a good time. And I am not worried about anything. And frankly, if I mess up, if I make a mistake doing something physical, you can coach me very easily. You can tell me, hey, that's not quite the right technique. When I'm at the gym, people can come up to me and tell me, hey, you're not lifting that correctly. Or if I'm playing basketball and somebody sees something that I'm not doing, or any other sport at all, I'm very, very open to feedback. And in fact, I'm excited to have it, regardless of who the person is. And you know what? Occasionally, I'll get feedback from somebody that knows less than me about a particular sport and is giving me advice that's wrong. And I don't care. I don't get upset. I just listen to them and I think, oh, you guys see where you're at. You're not where I'm at yet. Thank you for your input. and I can move on. However, my weak space really was in academics. I struggled as a student, as a kid. I always felt really stupid. And it was really, really hard for me. I did English as my major. And as an undergraduate, I would really struggle when I got my papers back from the professor and all of the red ink and all of the things that they said for me to improve would really, really make me feel worthless. I'd think, man, I'm stupid. I would collapse emotionally under the strain of all of the mistakes that I had made. And this would just be a draft. I felt like everything I wrote first time should be perfect. It was so hard for me to hear that I wasn't doing well because I didn't feel like I had any academic prowess or any sort of mental capacity. And that inability to hold that for myself made it very difficult for somebody to help me because I was defending something that I felt if you saw how stupid I was, you wouldn't want to be my friend. That's a real thing, right? So my inability to accept critical feedback limited my education in some ways until I was able to open myself to it and begin to recognize this was nothing to do with my value, nothing to do with my worth. This was an assignment. I could do it better. These were some pieces of feedback that I could give, and I could choose or not choose or choose not to follow whatever was given to me as advice. And as I began to look, I have a picture that I keep of myself. I was in Oregon with my brother a couple years ago playing around, and there was this slick rock waterfall that people would slide down the slick rock and drop off this waterfall into this big pool of water. And it was a lot of fun. And I thought, it'd be really fun to just kind of walk up and dive. I just wanted to dive into the pool because it was really deep. So I walked up, I stopped to dive, and my feet slipped out behind me, and I fell and landed on my back, and my brother was videotaping me getting ready to dive, and he's laughing his head off at at my utter failure at completing a proper dive. And I come up out of the water, I'm also laughing. I don't care. But the funny thing was, is many people that saw that video were like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. They're feeling embarrassed for me because they themselves feel embarrassed in that space. I feel none. I don't care what happens. I could trip and fall walking down the road. I don't think anything about it. In fact, I had a friend one time, we were at a volleyball tournament walking down the road, and there's a girls' team walking the other way. And we're all looking over, and he looks and he trips on the sidewalk and falls and immediately goes into push ups. 1, 2, 3, as if he intended to do it. It was one of those brilliant moments, and it was done so easily and so casually because he himself was confident. He didn't care that he had tripped, and he made it into a joke. This is the power that we have when we can provide value for ourselves in these spaces where we are weak. When you recognize your worth, it relieves you of your defensiveness. It relieves you of your fear. And then you can get curious. You want a growth mindset? Apply these things to your life. Internalize what your habitual behaviors are. Rewire your brain in those places where you're weak. Use the power that you have in the places of strength to be a template for how you can face the places where critical feedback is hard for you. And then you'll have that growth mindset. And you know what? You'll be much nicer to compliment because you'll receive that compliment with grace. It's nice to offer someone a compliment and them to say, thank you. I appreciate that. I like that about myself too, right? Those are fun people to compliment. Be that person and you'll have that growth mindset. And your limit is the end of your curiosity. How much curiosity do you have? Fill it all. I'm James Burnham. This is how I do it. Thanks for joining me. If you like this, stick around. I got another video coming up. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Really helps me. Appreciate your time today. Bye.